Two big self-tape traps. It's a trap. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife. Oh yeah, and best friend Brooke. I didn't forget. And now on to our topic. Two big self-tape traps. Okay, there are many traps that actors can fall into when it comes to this industry, specifically self-taping. But today I'm going to talk about two very big traps. Multiple takes, and treating some auditions differently than others. Okay, before we jump in, let me set the stage for you. As the market changed wherever you lived, from largely in-person to self-tapes, now for us in Atlanta, that was 2012, somewhere around there. For some of you, that might be as recently as 2020. At first, you hemmed and hawed over the pros and cons of self-taping, mostly cons, right? And then you finally figured out some sort of home self-tape setup. And if you still haven't figured out one, check the show notes below for a course that I have that is self-guided, all online, where you can learn how to build a home self-tape studio for no budget, all the way up to the highest budget you might possibly have. And despite the many downsides, hopefully by now you've come to appreciate one aspect of self-taping that seems to be a pro, which is the ability to do multiple takes, and casting will never see the ones that you don't submit. This allows you to get it right, right? I have so much to say about that concept of getting it right. I don't have time in this video. We have other videos on this channel that address it, but suffice to say, you're never going to get it right. So stop trying to get it right. There is no right. There is only you. But before I fall down that rabbit hole, let me ask a very simple question. How many takes do you do on average for a TV film audition? In fact, right now, drop a comment below letting me know how many takes you do on average for, again, TV and film. And does it change based on whether you're doing a student film audition versus a Steven Spielberg audition? It does? Why? See, we've arrived at the first trap, doing too many takes. I mean, why do you need more than one? Seriously, I want you to stop and answer that question for yourself right now. Why do you need more than one take when you're self-taping? I mean, when you were in person, you a lot of the time only got that one take. So why is it that now in a self-tape environment, you need more than one take? Is it just because you can? That is not a good enough reason. Is it because you flubbed a line? Fair enough. Is it because you played the first take back, you didn't like something about it, so you taped it again, didn't like something about that, so you did it again, and so forth, and rinse and repeat, and then suddenly you've got 12 takes where you like one little bit about each of the 12, and you wish in some weird, messed up universe you could actually edit the best of those 12 takes together into some master performance where every line is a different take. No, you can't do that. Maybe your coach is asking for another take. Uh-oh, you're coaching and taping at the same time? Ooh, I have more to say on that in a second. Bottom line, if you're doing consistently more than one take per audition, per scene in your audition, then you're turning the audition experience into something else, something it was not designed to be, and something that is essentially hurting you and your craft and potentially those on-set experiences. You're not practicing how you're going to play. And let me use a sports metaphor because it is so relevant, the sports world and the acting world, any sort of artistic endeavor. There's so much parallel between how athletes prepare and perform and how actors prepare and perform. See, just like a Major League Baseball player, you're stepping up to the plate, hoping to hit a home run. That is, when you audition, you're hoping that you put your best foot forward, that you really knock it out of the park with the performance, and that you ultimately book the job, which would be that home run. But before that MLB player steps into the batter's box, what has happened? Either in the on-deck circle, before the game, maybe on that off day yesterday, maybe in spring training, maybe in the off season, maybe in all those years of Little League, etc., etc. Or let me simplify it and put it this way. Could you imagine that Major League Baseball player in an actual game standing there in the batter's box, and on the other side of the plate is their batting coach whispering adjustments into their ear between pitches? Sounds ridiculous, right? Then perhaps your acting coach redirecting you while you're taping your audition isn't helping you as much as you think it is. Because they won't be there on set whispering adjustments in between takes, will they? Will they? So taking this analogy a little further down a weird path, the comfort of self-taping, the ability to do as many takes as you want, has potentially changed auditioning into you just stepping into a batting cage and never actually stepping into the batter's box. See, in that batting cage, you get as many pitches as you want from a machine that is consistent. You can adjust where you're standing because you know where that next pitch is coming. And so you get to perfect your swing. You get to get it right. But this does not prepare you, obviously, for a real life pitcher who has a four-seam fastball, a cutter, a sweeper, and a changeup. And it certainly doesn't prepare you for the crowd to be watching while you whiff at all four of those pitches. And because of the comfort of self-taping and maybe even involving your coach during the self-taping process, a lot of actors have gotten rid of their traditional training. They're not in classes, they're not doing workshops, they're not doing anything outside of the self-tape experience because that seems to have replaced it. But now you've created this weird hybrid scenario where you get to figure it out as you go along. And boy, do I sort of feel sorry for your reader in that scenario. I feel sorry for that reader who is having to watch you figure it out as you go along, as opposed to prepping and training and doing all of that stuff before you ever step into what should be the batter's box in an actual game scenario. Because how many takes are you going to get on set? Certainly one, of course. But then after that, it's mainly if there's going to be a technical error or they're setting up for a new angle or changing lenses. And then sometimes you have that performance note where they're discovering things with you and maybe trying to adjust you to fit the tone of the scene, the pacing of the scene, etc. But you definitely ain't getting 12 takes to figure it out in the moment whilst thousands of dollars are being spent to keep that set running. So let me sum up this first trap. If you don't practice how you play, then how can you truly be ready? If you've gotten so complacent doing 12 or more takes at home in the comfort of your self-tape studio, how do you expect to be able to perform under pressure when you are no longer in an ideal environment and curveballs are being thrown at you? The remedy? Well, some actors come to a taping service like Get Taped just to add a little bit of pressure to the situation. They have limited time based on whatever appointment they've booked. They also aren't used to whoever is going to be their reader. And depending on the taping service and how they structure things, you may not even get to watch playback as much as you would like. We offer playback after every take. Not that you should necessarily do that. More on that later. But in short, it's just a different experience than it is in the comfort of your own home. But if you must tape at home, no judgment, then maybe try limiting your takes. And if you're doing something like self-tape May, then put that challenge on yourself for your next couple auditions. See if you can do one take. Then walk away, have a snack, take a nap, then come back and reflect on the playback. Because spoiler alert, you're not going to get to see playback on set 99 out of 100 times. So getting used to it in your self-tape environment, and especially if you're picking apart that playback in the moment, you could be developing habits that could really be a disservice to you when suddenly you're out there on set and you have no understanding or awareness of how it's going. Okay, so hopefully I've illuminated this first trap pretty well. This segues into our second trap. Do you record more takes for a Steven Spielberg audition than you do for a student film? Why? Well, because, one opportunity is bigger than the other, duh. I get it. It is so easy to fall into this trap. I am susceptible to it myself. And some of you may have even experienced the following. You book something and then you find out what sort of project it is. Case in point, Brooke booked this untitled movie years and years ago, only to find out when she got the deal memo that it's a Tim Burton project. And this has happened to many other actors that have come through Get Taped over the years. And when they tell us after they booked it that, oh my gosh, so that thing I was auditioning for last week, that untitled Duffer Brothers project, it's Stranger Things or whatever, that untitled whatever, it's a Marvel movie that I booked. And they followed up with, I'm glad I didn't know when I auditioned. Why? Well, instinctively, you would have put more pressure on yourself if you had known how big of an opportunity it was. So this is a problem. And let me go back to the sports analogy to unpack it. If the Atlanta Braves are playing a high school team and they phone it in because it doesn't matter that much, I feel like Matt Foley, the motivational speaker. And then they put normal effort into a regular season game, but then they put a lot of effort into the postseason. Ooh, they're developing an inconsistency in how they play. And how many times have we seen the better team get upset because maybe they didn't put the full effort in? Or you can sense that they've put a lot of pressure on themselves to win the pennant or to win the World Series, and that pressure gets to them, and you can tell they're just not playing to their best, and they end up losing. So if they're not careful, if they play differently based on the opponent or the situation, if they place more importance on themselves, and then that raises their nerves and their anxiety, it's just creating unpredictability in how they're going to perform. Despite all that training they've done during the year and in the preseason and in spring training and all those years dating back to Little League, it can all go out the door because they did not have a consistency on how they approached each game. So you can clearly see this analogy to your auditions. If you're treating all of your auditions differently based on the perceived opportunity, that can be a big trap. What if you approached every opportunity the same way? Whether it paid copy, credit, and meals, or whether it was a 6-season contract on a new network pilot that is going to run forever and ever. What if you developed a work ethic that had you putting the same prep, the same level of prep, the same intensity of prep into every audition, regardless of the size of the role, regardless of the size of the opportunity? Seems to me that if you're on set and the seas get a little choppy, well, you'll be able to keep your ship steady, to add yet another metaphor into the mix. I hope that makes sense. Both traps. Doing too many takes because you can, and treating auditions differently based on whatever information you have or don't have. To continue mixing my metaphors, if you want to finish the marathon, you have to be disciplined. That comes from training, consistency, and patience. And that last one, patience, that's a tough one, because in this culture, we worship speed. We have Amazon Prime to deliver same day or tomorrow. We've got Uber Eats to deliver our food to our doorstep. And we prefer Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts over anything that might actually have useful content that lasts longer than a minute. As evidenced by the audience retention on even my most popular videos. Go figure. So for those few of you still watching, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Brooke's mom. Embrace the monotony of the routine. The habits you build today will be a source of gratitude for your future self. And when future Matt is on set and he's thrown that inevitable curveball, he will smile at all the prep that today Matt and past Matt have done to prep him for this moment. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.